Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you distinguished members of the Ohio State House Committees. I see many young faces among you tonight, but I know that many of you may remember the days when soda pop came in glass bottles. I remember collecting these bottles as a young boy to return them to the grocery store my mother worked at for a dime each. Even then, this was not a large amount of money. However, this allowed me to save up for the things I really wanted, like a brand new Huffy BMX bicycle. It only took around 2,500 bottles and 7 months to buy that bike. Back then, I couldn't believe people would leave good money just lying around, or worse yet, throw it in the trash, though I was eager to capitalize on their carelessness. I didn't understand what the true purpose of those deposit incentives were there for, and I grieved a little when the glass was replaced with plastic and those nifty deposits went the way to the dinosaur. Today, I understand all too well what those incentives were for, and would like to take this time to explain why our fine state needs this system to deal with the plastic beverage containers that are filling up our landfills. First, let me give some basic statistics. According to the American Beverage Association, beverage containers make up over 80% of all containers sold in the U.S. At least 1/3 of all beverages sold are more likely to be emptied away from home. These on-the-go containers are not captured by curbside collection programs, so the financial incentive of the deposit helps encourage consumers to return them to retailers for their refund. They also comprise a large portion of litter, around 40 to 60% nationwide, which can be reduced with a financial incentive to recycle. Now, I know that opponents of what has been termed bottle bills spend millions of dollars every year to defeat these legislative measures. They use misinformation as one of their main weapons. So before I hand the floor over to my counterpart, let me address some of the misinformation they will use in their bid to convince you not to pass this law. The first myth is that deposit systems target only a small part of the waste stream, less than 3% of municipal solid waste by weight. But the fact is, data collected from the US EPA states that while soda containers constitute less than 1% of the waste stream, all beverage containers are 5.6% of the waste stream. More importantly, the upstream environmental effects of container wasting are disproportionately high. For example, beverage containers account for 20% of the greenhouse gas emissions resulting from landfilling a ton of municipal solid waste and replacing the wasted products with new products made from virgin materials. Another argument is that deposit return is inconvenient because consumers prefer home curbside bins. According to the magazine BioCycle, the problem is curbside service is not available to 50% of the American population, and curbsides don't address away-from-home consumption. The EPA also states tripling of curbside access does not stem the tide of waste. The industry itself opposes this type of legislation because they say deposit returns are expensive for distributors. While there is a cost to dealing with beverage container waste, whether through recycling or disposal, it will either be borne by government or by brand owners, distributors, and beverage consumers. Distributors have taken backhauling out of the distribution system. They do have the ability to design it back in. And distributors have the option of passing the cost of handling on to consumers. So under deposit systems, the cost of recycling is borne by producers and consumers, not by government and taxpayers. Bottle bill opponents call bottle bills a tax. Virginia State Senator Madison Maria has about the best answer to this. He once said, "Well, sir, I sure wish all my taxes were refundable like container deposits." One way, throwaway, no deposit, no return beverage containers are a corporate subsidy, a hidden tax. Taxpayers absorb the cost of disposing of beverage containers. Taxpayers absorb the cost of unsightly, dangerous beverage container litter. And many taxpayers absorb the cost of recycling beverage containers through curbside recycling programs. When there is a refundable deposit on beverage containers, the consumers, not taxpayers, pay the deposit. The deposit is refunded if the container is returned, and the beverage distributors and bottlers absorb the cost of collection. They then choose whether or not to pass their costs on to their consumers. Because 70% or more of the deposit containers are returned, taxpayers pay less for disposal, less for litter pickup, and less for curbside recycling. All of these reasons are perfectly good examples of why this legislation should be a no-brainer to pass. The opposition will try to dissuade you from this course of action with a myriad of numbers, dollars, amounts, and various statistics. But when we stick to sound reason and common sense, their numbers just don't add up. If we listen to the government's own agencies, namely the EPA and several others, we get a much clearer picture. Also, there is the added benefit of ushering in a new generation who learns the benefits of recycling, and maybe even earn themselves a brand new bike in the process. Thank you.